The morning started like any other. I brewed a fresh cup of coffee, packed my daughter's lunch, and watched her tiny arms wrap around my leg before she ran out the door with her preschool backpack bouncing behind her. I smiled, kissed my wife on the cheek as she folded laundry, and thought, just for a moment, that life was finally calm. Stable. Good. I was wrong. It happened later that day, in the most mundane way you can imagine. I was cleaning out the filing cabinet in our bedroom, sorting through old tax returns and health insurance papers, when I stumbled upon a small folder marked maternity. I almost didn't open it. I thought it was just hospital paperwork we already scanned and filed months ago. But something tugged at me. Inside was our daughter's birth certificate. I'd seen it once before, right after she was born. My name was there, printed clearly under Father. But this time, it wasn't. My eyes scanned the page once. Then again. And again. The father's name was different. Not a typo. Not a clerical error. A completely different name. Jason Lee. Age, 33. Place of birth, Chicago. My hands started to shake. I stared at the paper for a full minute, trying to find some reasonable explanation. Was it a mistake? A medical form mix-up? But no, the mother's name was correct. My wife, Maya, was listed. The date, the hospital, even our daughter's name, it all matched. Except me. Except the most important part. I heard Maya's footsteps outside the room and quickly tucked the certificate back into the folder. My heart was hammering in my chest. I tried to act normal, but something in me cracked. We'd been together 6 years. Married 4. And now, this? Over dinner that night, I watched her. Every smile. Every movement. Every casual word. And all I could think about was, who is Jason Lee? Is he someone from before me? Did she lie to me? Is our daughter, not mine? I couldn't sleep. I couldn't focus. That one paper had shattered something inside me. The next morning, I dropped my daughter off at school. As she waved goodbye, a lump swelled in my throat. What if I wasn't really her dad? What if everything, the bedtime stories, the birthday parties, the scraped knees, was built on a lie? By the time I got home, Maya was already in the kitchen. I told her I found the birth certificate. I watched her face carefully, too carefully. She froze. Not a blink. Not a smile. Just silence. Maya, I said, why does it say another man's name? She opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out. Instead, she turned away. And just like that, everything changed. Cliffhanger ending, she finally turned back to me. Her eyes were wet, her lips trembling. There's something I've never told you, she whispered. And in that moment, I knew. This wasn't just a mistake. This was the beginning of a truth that could destroy everything. For a moment, the silence between us stretched so tight I thought it might snap. Maya stood frozen, her hands trembling slightly by her sides. The birth certificate still sat on the counter between us like a live wire neither of us dared to touch. There's something I've never told you, she repeated, her voice cracking. I felt my chest tighten. I wanted to speak, ask a million questions at once, but I stayed quiet, giving her space to talk. Part of me feared her answer would be the end of everything. She took a breath. Before we met, when I was in college, I had a relationship. It wasn't serious at first. His name was Jason. We broke up just before graduation. I didn't even know I was pregnant when we split. I stared at her, barely blinking. So, he's her biological father? Maya nodded. Her eyes welled up, but she didn't cry. I found out a few weeks later. I was scared, alone. I tried to reach him, but he'd moved. No number, no address. I didn't know where to start. And then, you and I met. I tried to absorb her words. We'd met just a few months after she graduated. Our connection was instant. I remember how she smiled when I helped her carry a broken bookshelf up 3 flights of stairs in that tiny apartment complex. We started dating weeks later. She never said anything. Not once. I raised our daughter thinking she was mine. And Maya had let me believe it, for nearly 5 years. Why didn't you tell me? I asked, my voice low, but not angry. Not yet. She looked down. Because I didn't think it mattered anymore. You loved her, you love her. You're the only father she's ever known. And I didn't want that to change. I wanted to argue. I wanted to shout. But deep down, I did love her. More than anything. I was there when she took her first steps. I stayed up with her when she had that awful flu. I built her dollhouse with my bare hands. My name might not be on her birth certificate, but every part of me was in her life. Still, something inside me twisted. It wasn't just about biology, it was about trust. You let me believe a lie, Maya, I said quietly. I thought we were building a family together, from the ground up. But you were carrying this secret the whole time. Her eyes finally spilled over. I was afraid, okay? I was afraid if I told you, you'd leave. That you'd never look at her the same way. That I'd ruin everything. The air between us grew heavier. My mind raced with memories, bedtime stories, school drop-offs, scraped knees, tiny giggles in the morning. All the things that made me feel like a father. But then another thought crept in. Does he know? I asked. Jason, does he even know he has a daughter? She hesitated. No. I never found him. I stopped looking after a while. You were already there. You were better than he ever could have been. Her words meant to comfort me, but they dug deeper. Not because she was wrong, but because now I couldn't stop wondering. What if he was out there? What if he showed up? And more hauntingly, would my daughter choose him? The questions swirled like smoke, thickening every second. But one thing was clear, the past Maya tried to bury had finally clawed its way to the surface. And none of us would be the same again. The days that followed our confrontation were quiet, too quiet. The kind of silence that's not peaceful, but heavy, like the air just before a storm. Maya and I moved around each other like strangers in the same house, careful not to bump into the tension that lingered in every room. Our daughter, Emma, remained blissfully unaware. She'd run up to me with her drawings, her bedtime stories, and that same giggle I'd known since she was a toddler. But every time she called me daddy, something inside me flinched, not because I didn't want to be her father anymore, but because I suddenly didn't know what I was to her. I hadn't told her anything. I couldn't. Yet the thought festered, what if she found out from someone else someday? What if Jason, this ghost from Maya's past, suddenly reappeared? I couldn't sleep. And one night, I finally gave in. I started looking. Not because I wanted to give him rights. Not because I wanted to hand my daughter over. But because I needed to know. Who was he? What kind of man walks away without looking back? Maya didn't know I was searching. I kept it quiet, telling her I needed time, which wasn't a lie. But I also needed answers. And when I found him, just a name buried in a faded alumni directory, I knew I had to take the next step. Jason Mitchell. Lives 2 states over. Owns a custom motorcycle shop. Not married. I stared at his photo online for what felt like an hour. He looked confident. Put together. Like someone who wouldn't panic if the ground fell out from under him. Unlike me, right now. I didn't reach out. Not yet. But I kept that tab open on my laptop for days. The temptation to send him a message burned in me like an ember that refused to die. Then came the second blow. Maya's mother, who had been visiting for the weekend, pulled me aside while Emma played in the living room. "I'm glad you know now," she said gently. I froze. You knew." She nodded, lips pressed tight. "I wanted Maya to tell you from the beginning. But she was scared. And you were already so good with Emma. It felt like the right thing, at the time. I couldn't believe it. It wasn't just Maya who kept this from me. It was her whole family. I realized then that I wasn't just battling my own doubts, I was up against a wall of people who had quietly decided I didn't need the full truth. That night, I sat on the back porch with a beer, watching the stars, and tried to remember where everything had gone wrong. The weight of fatherhood was still on my shoulders, but now it came with sharp edges. Every moment I'd cherished felt both real and stolen. And then, like fate wanted to make it worse, I got the message. It was from a woman named Leah. She'd found my number through the alumni page, Jason's ex. She saw my inquiry and decided to tell me something I never expected to hear. "He's not who he pretends to be," the message read. "If you're looking into Jason, be careful. He doesn't do well with responsibility." The next part made my stomach drop. "He's had kids before. Left them too. Emma might be better off never knowing he exists." The choice I thought I needed to make, to reach out to him, suddenly felt even more impossible. What if I invited chaos into our lives? What if Maya was right to never go looking? But now, it was my turn to keep a secret. Maya didn't ask why I was distant. Maybe she already knew. Maybe she was waiting for me to break the silence first, as if she'd handed me the truth and was watching to see if I could carry it without collapsing. But I couldn't. Not anymore. One evening, when Emma had just gone to sleep, I stood in the kitchen, watching Maya clean up dishes like nothing was wrong. I couldn't keep pretending. I set down my phone, pulled out the chair, and said quietly, "We need to talk." Her hands froze in the sink. For a second, she didn't turn. But then she dried her hands, walked over, and sat across from me, like she was bracing for impact. "I found him," I said. Her face didn't show surprise. Just quiet resignation. "I figured you might." "I didn't reach out," I added quickly. "But someone reached out to me. Jason's ex." That got her attention. Her eyes widened, just a little. "What did she say?" I told her everything. About Jason's past. The kids he left behind. The warning. And the final line that haunted me, Emma might be better off never knowing. Maya's expression crumbled. That's why I never told him. I knew he wouldn't be the kind of father she needed. You were already loving her like she was yours. How could I ruin that? I stared at her. But you let me live a lie. I let you live our truth, she shot back. The one we built. The family we made. We both sat there, quiet, both right and both wrong in our own ways. Then came the knock. It was late. Too late for visitors. I opened the door cautiously, and froze. It was him. Jason. He looked different from his pictures, taller, leaner, his face weathered by time. He didn't look like a man who wanted to stir up trouble. He looked like someone who hadn't been able to sleep either. Maya, he said, nodding slightly at her over my shoulder. I know I'm the last person you want to see. But I found out. From my cousin, she works at the county office. She saw the birth certificate. Said Emma's mine. The ground shifted beneath me. I'm not here to fight, Jason said quickly. I don't want custody. I've been thinking about her. About the life I left behind. I was young. Stupid. But I want to make things right. Maya stepped forward, trembling. You don't get to walk in and claim redemption like it's yours to take. You left. He nodded, guilt plain on his face. I know. That's why I want to earn it. I'll leave if you say so. But I just wanted to meet her. Just once. I felt like I was watching a slow-motion car crash, unable to move. Jason looked at me next. And I'm not here to replace you. I can see you've been raising her. I respect that. He extended his hand. I didn't take it. I don't need your respect, I said, my voice low. I need peace for my daughter. The three of us stood in the dim glow of the hallway, the weight of 1,000 unsaid things pressing down on us. And just then, from behind me, Emma's voice rang out. Daddy? She was standing at the top of the stairs in her pajamas, clutching her bunny. Her little voice cracked the room open. Jason's eyes filled with something close to tears. But he didn't speak. Didn't move. Maya turned and climbed the stairs to take Emma back to bed. And I was left alone with the man whose name was on my daughter's birth certificate. I didn't know what the right thing was anymore. But I knew this, whatever came next, none of us would leave unchanged. Jason never got to meet Emma that night. After Maya tucked her back into bed, she came down, trembling, and told him it wasn't the time. He respected that. He left without protest. But the storm he brought didn't leave with him. The next morning, I couldn't focus. My mind kept spiraling, not just about Jason, but about Maya. About the secrets. About the timing. Something didn't sit right. I went into our room and opened her old box of files again. I needed to understand. Maybe I was looking for reassurance. Maybe I just didn't trust her anymore. That's when I found it. Buried behind old insurance forms and Emma's hospital bracelet was an old phone. One I didn't recognize. It still had some charge. And one look was enough to split my chest open. There were texts, recent ones. Messages between Maya and Jason. They weren't just about Emma. They weren't updates, or arguments, or anything a co-parent might send in secret. They were personal. Intimate. I still think about that night. I never stopped. He doesn't know anything. Just play it slow. We'll figure it out. We always do. I dropped the phone like it burned. Was this still happening? Had it never ended? When I confronted Maya, she didn't deny it. Not right away. She looked me dead in the eyes, jaw trembling, and whispered, "It started again after I had Emma." I was scared. I didn't know how to be a mom. He reached out when I was vulnerable. "You lied to me," I said, my voice hollow. "All this time." She broke. I tried to stop. I swear. But it was never about love with him. I didn't love him. I was just scared. "You loved me too much," I felt like I didn't deserve it. I laughed bitterly. "So you punished me for loving you?" "No," she cried, "I punished myself, and it cost you." I couldn't breathe. My world wasn't just cracked. It was hollow. Rotten at the core. I thought the twist was Emma's birth certificate. But this betrayal, was the real wound. And then, another realization hit me like a punch. What if Jason knew he wasn't just the biological father? What if their plan was to slowly push me out? That night, I took Emma and drove to my sister's house. Maya begged me not to go, cried at the door, but I couldn't look at her. I needed space. Time to think. I watched Emma sleep in my sister's guest room, her little chest rising and falling, oblivious to the chaos unraveling around her. I wasn't just fighting for love anymore. I was fighting for truth. For stability. For a future that felt safe for my daughter. And suddenly, I wasn't sure if anyone around her had been honest. 3 days passed. 3 days of silence, unanswered calls, unread messages, and a daughter who kept asking, "When are we going home?" And each time she said, "home," something inside me cracked. I was at my sister's place, sleeping in her guest room, staring at the ceiling like it owed me answers. But answers don't come easy when the truth has already betrayed you. Maya kept calling. I didn't answer. Until I did. Not out of forgiveness. Not out of softness. Out of clarity. "Come meet me," I said. Just us. We met at a park. Neutral ground. A wide open space where nothing could hide. She came without makeup, hair tied back, wearing an old hoodie. She looked like the version of her I'd fallen in love with years ago, raw, real, vulnerable. We didn't sit. We stood in front of each other like opposing tides, still unsure which way to crash. "You said you wanted honesty," she whispered, voice shaking. "So here it is. Jason doesn't want custody. He doesn't want to be a father. He just wanted to know she was his." "And what about you?" I asked. "What did you want?" She wiped her eyes. "I wanted to disappear when I found out I was pregnant. I was scared. And then you showed up for me. You loved her like she was yours. And I let you believe it, because I didn't think I could raise her alone. But I also didn't want you to leave. I deserved the truth." "You did," she nodded. "And I was a coward." My chest tightened. I could feel the air shift between us. The weight of years, trust, lies, all of it balancing on the edge of what I'd say next. "I'm not angry because Emma isn't mine by blood," I said quietly. "I'm angry because you didn't give me the choice. You took that from me." She looked down. "I know." A pause. Then I added, "But I still choose her. Every day." Her head snapped up. "What?" I raised her. I heard her first words. I sat up with her when she was sick. I held her hand on her first day of school. I'm her dad. Nothing changes that, not DNA, not lies, not you. Maya broke. Right there. She sobbed into her hands, and I let her. Because the pain she felt wasn't just guilt, it was loss. Not of me. But of the version of us that could have existed without secrets. "I don't know how to fix this," she cried. "I don't either," I admitted. "But Emma deserves something better than silence. So we'll co-parent. We'll rebuild boundaries. And maybe, with time, we'll figure out if anything else is left between us." A long, quiet beat passed. She whispered, "Do you think you'll ever forgive me?" I met her eyes. "Maybe not all at once. But I'll start by forgiving you for not knowing how to ask for help." We stood there in that quiet ache, the space between us no longer hostile, but honest. And in that moment, I realized something: family isn't defined by blood. It's built. Day by day. Through choices, through heartbreak, through staying even when you have every reason to walk away. I chose Emma. And somehow, in her own broken way, Maya had chosen me too. It had been 2 weeks since the day in the park. 2 weeks of slow healing. Of learning to live in the silence between what we were, and what we might become again. I had moved back into the house, but only for Emma. We agreed on separate rooms, separate responsibilities. We kept things calm for her. Our daughter didn't understand the mess around her, and frankly, she shouldn't have to. She just needed her parents close. Emma would still call me Daddy, and each time, it reminded me why I chose to stay. One night, after she was asleep, I found Maya sitting on the couch, staring at the baby monitor. Her eyes were red again. But this time, she didn't hide them. "Do you ever regret staying?" she asked softly. I thought for a moment. "No," I answered. "But I regret the years I believed I knew everything when I didn't." She nodded. "Me too." We sat in silence for a bit, the kind that didn't need to be filled. Then she whispered, "Jason signed a statement relinquishing parental rights. Legally, he wants nothing to do with Emma. He even apologized." That didn't surprise me. From the beginning, he felt like a shadow in a life that had already moved on without him. "She's mine," I said. "Paper or not, she's mine." Maya looked at me, eyes wide. "Would you want to adopt her? Officially?" The idea hit me like a quiet thunderclap. It had never occurred to me. I was already her dad in every way that mattered. But, to make it real, legal, undeniable. That was something deeper. I nodded slowly. Yes. I'd be honored. Her eyes filled again. But this time, the tears were different. They weren't about guilt or pain. They were about gratitude. Weeks passed. Papers were signed. Court dates were scheduled. And one sunny afternoon, in a quiet courtroom with Emma sitting on my lap wearing a tiny yellow dress, the judge declared what my heart had always known: I was her father. Maya and I didn't magically fall back in love. We were still rebuilding. Still learning how to be honest with each other. But we were parenting better. Listening more. Loving our daughter fully. One night, as I tucked Emma into bed, she held my face and whispered, "I knew you were my real daddy." I smiled. "I always will be."